Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I've learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. And it is Friday, and every Friday I do Dear Peter videos on this channel, which are advice videos based on emails that I receive from you. I will say this before going into my video today, that these videos that I do on my Dear Peter series are all based on personal experience. This is not professional expert advice or opinions or anything like that. So if you have an issue in your life that you feel needs some professional advice, please seek that out. I think it's very important to seek out professional help whenever we have some very serious issues in our lives. And I know for me, it has only helped me grow as a person. I also want to say in here that the advice that I'm going to be giving today in this video may come across as a little direct, a little harsh. It's also advice that I have given to numerous people in my 23 years of being sober, 23 and a half years sober. My sobriety birth date is December 17th, 1994, and we're going to talk about addiction today. One of the things that I have found about addicts and alcoholics, about family members, friends, loved ones of addicts and alcoholics, is that our ability to grow and to change is based on our willingness to make changes in our own life. So if I give you a suggestion and you don't take it, chances are your life probably won't change. And that's not because I know everything in the world. My advice is based on things that I have done that have changed my life, or other things that I have seen others do that have changed their lives, or just things that I know that work because I've seen them work for hundreds and hundreds of people. So we're going to talk about addiction today. You guys ready? All right. Let me read you the email that I received. Now, if you want me to answer an advice video for you, and it can be anything, okay? It can be relationship advice, it can be addiction advice, grief advice, it can be whatever you guys want. It can be anything from like, I'm thinking about getting another dog. What do you think? It can be any kind of just little simple advice. Make sure that you put in the subject title of the email, Dear Peter. I always just go into my emails and search Dear Peter, and I read through the ones that I've received, and that's how I pick what my video is going to be. Dear Peter, thank you for your latest video entitled, How to Let Go of Your Past. I needed to hear that. It is because of my past that I am stuck today. I am reaching out for any advice on loving an addict. What I mean by that is that my ex-fiance is an addict. We have been together for a little over 2 years. During this time, he has battled alcohol, crack, pot, cocaine, etc. I have kicked him out multiple times. I have broken up with him so many times. Yet just recently, when he had lost another place to stay, I let him back on my couch. I couldn't stand the thought of him being homeless. He is gainfully employed and makes great money. He has a son with his ex that is a doll. I have rehabbed him several times, but he won't seek professional help. As a result, because of my past, I don't want to give up on him like I have felt others gave up on me. However, I know that I'm an enabler. That was a hard one to get through. But as I told my mom yesterday, I can't sleep at night thinking I've been cruel to someone. This, of course, is driven by guilt of being really a religious, hardcore person in my youth who could cut people off if they didn't measure up with a blink of an eye. I've grown up and have become a better person, but I feel emotionally stunted when it comes to my ex. Maybe it is self-esteem and the lack thereof. I don't know. But I do know that it physically hurts to turn my back on him. Do you have any insight from an ex-addict's point of view? Would being hard on him help? Maybe in the long run, or question mark? Thanks in advance for any insight you give. And I'm going to keep it anonymous because I don't know if she wants me to share her name or not. But I think it's a fantastic question. So many people contact me and say, you know, my son is an addict or an alcoholic, my daughter is, my spouse, my brother, and my friend. I don't know what to do. So I'm going to be a little harsh here for a second, okay? And I want to just read over some things in the email that I think are important. One of the things I think is that, you know, when you are an enabler, which means that you help the other person's addiction, which is what you're doing, and you are aware of that, okay? When you do things like you allow them back on your couch to sleep, what you're doing is you're giving them a place to stay. See, they don't have a place to stay because of their behaviors, because of their choices. And I am a believer in choices and consequences. And until the addict or alcoholic feels those consequences related to their choices, directly related to their choices, they will not make any changes. Why would they? And for me to get sober, one of the things that had to happen was that the consequences had to outweigh the joy that I was receiving from drinking and using drugs. And one of the things I hear a lot of people say, in 12-step programs is, there was no giggle left in the bottle. There was some giggle left in the bottle for me. I was still having some fun at the end. Not a lot, not as much as I had before, but I still was having fun times. Or at least I was convinced of that, But I was starting to receive a lot of consequences, and it's not going to just take one for a lot of people. It might take everybody putting consequences on this person. And, I had a really good friend of mine that was living at me at one point, and she said to me, I came home and she had packed up all of her stuff, and, she said to me, either you're going to tell your dad that this is a problem, or I'm going to tell your dad that this is a problem, but I can't continue to sit here and watch this. And I looked at her and I go, F you. And she's like, the best thing I know how to do, the best consequence I have for you is to not be your friend anymore. And I was so pissed at her. I was like, screw her. She doesn't know. What does she know? She used to drink with me. She used to party with me. 20 years later, I contacted her and I said, you are the only friend that was willing to set any boundaries and limits with me and be my friend. Thank you so much. You may have saved my life. Because not that moment, but 6 months later when I got sober, I remember that she had said that. I remember that she cared enough to say that, And that's what I tell people all the time. You gotta set consequences for people. Now I'm gonna go into this email and I wanna point out a couple things, okay? Number one, you say, I needed to hear that. It is because of my past that I am stuck today. So basically what you're saying is, this has nothing to do with the addict or the alcoholic. This is all about you, okay? These are your issues. This is your own toxicity. This is your own past coming to haunt you and you're allowing it to keep you stuck. That is vital about the piece of advice I'm gonna give you in just a second. The next piece that she says is that she has kicked him out so many times. I've broken up with him so many times. Yet just recently when he had lost another place to stay, I let him back on my couch. I couldn't stand the thought of him being homeless. Now, how many of us have let somebody stay at our house, a son, a daughter, whatever, okay? A partner, whatever, because we're so afraid of them being homeless? Now, let me read you the next line. Are you ready? He is gainfully employed and makes great money. This is the kind of twisted thinking that we do when we have friends and family members that are alcoholics and addicts. And you have to remember, I'm not just an ex-addict and alcoholic, okay? My mother was a hardcore alcoholic. And these were the emotions that I felt. I let her get away with so much manipulative shit because I was like, she's my mom and she doesn't have anybody, and all that crap. Wasted time, that I could have been like setting limits and boundaries. And when I got out of treatment and I called her on the phone and I said, I can't see you. And she goes, why not? And I said, until you've stopped drinking, I can't have you in my life. And I said, I can't have people that are drinking and using in my life. She goes, surely you don't mean me. I go, absolutely. You're one of the biggest ones. I can't have you there, And she was so pissed. And I didn't see her for 6 months. I didn't see her for 6 months until my cousin's wedding. I didn't see her. And my cousin got married June 17th, I think, is her wedding date. And my mom's sobriety date is June 2nd. And she would have 23 years this year. So if she were still alive, she died a sober woman. And probably one of the most, proudest things she ever did with her life. And she didn't even get sober till she was 51. So never give up hope. But I think it's important, and I'm not trying to be mean, but I want to point out to you the way that our minds work, okay? The way that our own twisted minds work. And there is a fantastic book called Codependent No More by Melody Beatty. It's one of my hands-down favorite books. And I mean to tell you, with the exception of 12-step textbooks, and maybe even more than that, I learned more about who I am as a person through Codependent No More. And the beginning of this book tells stories, okay, about women trying to control men in their lives drinking, where they'll buy them a 6-pack of beer and say, you gotta have one every hour, okay? And then the men leave at 2 o'clock in the morning after they've had a couple beers because one is too many and 1,000 is never enough. And if you think you can control somebody's drinking or drugging, you're crazy, okay? You need to get that out of your mind, right? It's not gonna happen. You're just not. If an addict and an alcoholic wants to use, there is nothing that you can do except for put them in a padded cell, and trust me, they'll probably figure out something then. That's just the reality. So anyway, And then she said she kicked him out several times. He's gainfully employed. He's gainfully employed, which means he can afford his own place. He needs to go find his own place, okay? So going through here, there's two things that I'm hearing, okay? Number one, I hear you saying, I'm an enabler because of my past, because of how people treated me, and also because I was really harsh with other people, you know, back in the day, because I judge people based on my religious beliefs, okay? Well, you're not that person today. So stop living out of guilt for who you were yesterday. It is absolutely not doing you any good. And guilt, if you're watching this video and you don't relate to it at all, listen to this. Everybody can relate to this. Guilt is an absolutely worthless emotion. It does absolutely no good for anybody. There's nothing good comes from guilt, okay? When people say, I feel guilty because, get rid of that statement, okay? Either fix what you did in the past, become a different person, or work on it, but that I feel guilty bullshit, it's trickery of the world. There's no reason for it, you know? I remember sitting in a family group with my mom at one point when I was in high school, and all these family members are going around talking about things. And it came to my mom, and my mom said, I mean, she owned her own shit as an alcoholic. And she said, I feel so guilty for Peter's using because, you know, blah, 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 whatever. Well, that stuck into my head. Years later, I am in a family group that I was running, okay? And another mother said something very similar to that. And I went home that night, and I called my mom, and I said, Mom, do you remember when you said that you felt guilty for my drinking because you role modeled that behavior, which was true. She did, okay? And she said, yeah. And I said, do you still feel that way? And she said, oh yeah. Like, I know I shouldn't, but I do. And she said, I can be a person in recovery forever, but as a mom, I still feel that. And I said, you need to get rid of that. And let me tell you why. Because if you own my using, you own my recovery. And I'm sorry, but that's just not yours to own. I did the work. And she was like, oh, okay. You know, I was like, me and God alone, we did that work, okay? That was, you didn't do it. And she didn't. And that's mine to own, okay? Guilt is a worthless emotion. It can't change anything. We can't change the past. Learn from it. That's what, you know, we should do from those things. So the first thing I would say is go get the book Codependent No More by Melody Beatty. It'll change your life, okay? What it talks about in there is that we need validation and acceptance from other people. And in our relationships with other people, how they treat us, how they manipulate us, how they validate us, the negative, the positive, all of it in there, we define ourselves through that instead of defining ourselves through our own independence. And that is important, okay? That's number one that you need to do. Go get Codependent No More. Number two is you need to go get an Al-Anon or Nar-Anon. And those are 12-step programs for friends and family members of alcoholics and addicts. Al-Anon is for alcoholics, but people that have addicts go there too. And Nar-Anon is out of Narcotics Anonymous, and it's for people that are addicts, okay? And Al-Anon is a little bit more prevalent in the world. When you go there, they will not teach you how to fix your addict or alcoholic. They will tell you how to become a healthier human being. It is a 12-step program for you based on issues like, I can't set boundaries for this person I love, blah, 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 blah. You will learn the 3 C's of Al-Anon, which are, you didn't cause it, you can't cure it, and you can't control it. And those are important things to know when working with an addict or an alcoholic. The responsibility is not yours, but what are you doing to enable that? Al-Anon is a 12-step program that has saved my life, okay? I will just say that because of my knowledge of it and my knowledge of it. Now, you know, I'm part of another 12-step program, so I don't go, but I have been, okay? And just sitting in meetings and hearing other people's stories and hearing other people, and you get a sponsor, you work steps and everything in there, okay? You don't go and get a bunch of advice on how to fix your addict. That's not what it's about. It's for you. And if you're feeling like you can't set those limits on those boundaries or you have been affected by it, you need to go anyway. One of the things that people recommended to me in the past was, you know, go to Al-Anon for your mom. I'm like, she's gone, she passed away. And they were like, you're still an Al-Anoner, you know, you're still somebody that's been affected by that. You've been affected by alcoholics your whole life, you know. You are, who you are as a person is based on your interactions with other alcoholics and addicts. And it's so true. That's the second thing you need to do. And that's a resistant piece that people always say to me, oh yeah, maybe I'll try it. Google search Al-Anon in your city and you will find meetings. Call it up, say, I'm afraid to go by myself. Will somebody meet me? Whatever, okay? Take a good Judy with you, take a sister, whatever, go. It'll save your, and keep on going, and it'll save your life. The third thing that you need to do is, you need to set healthy limits and boundaries with this person. And if you don't know what those are, find a counselor, find somebody in your life, a life coach, a minister, pastor, a rabbi, whatever, to help you come up with realistic, healthy consequences for the addict or the alcoholic in your life. But whatever boundary you set, make sure that you can follow through with it. Don't say, the next time you show up at my door, I'm not going to welcome you in here if you're still using, if you cannot follow through with that. Because if you know that you're going to continue to be manipulated, then you don't set that boundary, because then they're just going to continue to step over it and step over it and step over it. When you put the line in the sand, don't move. And I think it's really vital for them, if you love them enough, you will set boundaries for them, because until they realize that people are being affected by my use and they're not going to take this anymore, they aren't going to change. And I'm going to tell you right now, the really sad reality is, if this addict and alcoholic doesn't want to change, they will probably exit your life. You probably won't hear from them again if you set limits and boundaries, and they'll probably go on to somebody else, because that's what we need as addicts and alcoholics that are active. We need people to feed off of, okay? Or we end up all alone just hurting ourselves. And that's what happens a lot of times, you know? I've told people for years, listen, I can tell you what works and what's worked for me and what's worked for other friends of mine, but I cannot promise you that your loved one will not end up in prison or in dead or still using, because that's just the reality a lot of times. But you owe it yourself to change and to help that person out. You owe it yourself to at least work on yourself. I know a lot of people that are in Al-Anon that continue to live with their addict or alcoholic, but they're healthier people inside and it's not affecting them so much. I know people that have read Codependent No More and it has changed their life. Melody Beatty has 10 books out that change your life, okay? All of them are fantastic. I'll link Codependent No More underneath here. But do the work. Say, today I am going to be a different person. Today I am going to do things in a different way. If you were making cookies the same way every day of your entire life, and they were coming out and they were okay, but somebody came along and said, do you want cookies that you can sell for $5 a piece, that when people eat it, they will be like, that is the best cookie I've ever had? And you go, yeah, I mean, I am okay with making the cookies I made, but you could have this. Why wouldn't you do it? This is just another way of living. It's up to you. You can make the same old chocolate chip cookies you're making on a daily basis, or you can make something that the results are 10 times better. It's totally up to you. I wish you the best, because it's hard. I'm telling you right now, I put my family through hell, and I am so glad that today we have happy relationships. Yesterday, my friend Tanya and I were talking on my vlog, and we were talking about being in recovery, and she said the most fantastic thing that you get to see with people that are sober is repairing those relationships, and it is absolutely the truth. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.